Tod Browning's London After Midnight, an American silent horror film, brings together a murder mystery with suspicions of vampires as the enigmatic circumstances of the death of Roger Balfour, his corpse found in his own home, causes Detective, or Professor Burke, to investigate the case. Initially declaring the death as self-inflicted, despite the objections of Balfour's close friend Sir James Hamlin, 5 years later, speculation arises over the strange occurrences within the Balfour Manor, the new tenants being two vampiric individuals with unusual appearances. For those who might find the mysterious premise of London After Midnight appealing, silent-era horror films are in a league of their own when crafting eerie atmospheres and unforgettable characters, possibly aided by the haunting quality of soundless cinema. It's bound to be disappointing to discover that Tod Browning's London After Midnight is considered a lost film. Despite its inaccessibility, the film retains a clear influence on generations of horror filmmakers, which followed in the film's path, due to Lon Chaney's presentation as the man in the beaver hat, the vampiric enigma with a row of sharp teeth, piercing eyes, and an impossible, uncanny smile. Lon Chaney earned a reputation within American silent cinema due to performances as unconventional, tragic, and troubled characters, while also managing to apply his own prosthetics and makeup, creating iconic, distorted appearances in his most recognisable roles, such as within Rupert Julian's The Phantom of the Opera. We can see traces of Lon Chaney and his man in the beaver hat within horror cinema, including Jennifer Kent's The Babadook, the writer-director herself admitting that Lon Chaney's legacy played a part in her creation of the modern horror icon. Speaking about Lon Chaney as the man in the beaver hat, Jennifer Kent stated that, "I will admit that image really impressed itself on me. What I loved about that particular image is that you can see that it's a person's face. It's just a face that's been distorted, without CGI obviously, but manipulated so that it looks human, but almost not. And I think that London After Midnight, shot with his face and his mouth pulled apart like that, is really frightening." It's incredible to consider London After Midnight has this continued influence over modern horror, despite not surviving in any complete form, but solely through film stills and promotional imagery, like finding inspiration in the fractured spectre of something once was. London After Midnight remains lost tragically due to an infamous fire within an MGM vault, where master copies were destroyed. Anya Stanley for Slash Film summarises this dreadful event thoughtfully, writing that, "If you hadn't seen the movie, you'd be forgiven. London After Midnight is considered a long-lost film. Its last print destroyed in the MGM vault fire of 1965. The movie is both the victim of heat damage and of a time when film preservation was a low priority, leaving films to waste away in studio vaults. The nitrate-rich film stock of the time was intensely flammable, so much so that Quentin Tarantino makes a Nazi-defeating plot point of it in Inglourious Basterds. As such, vault fires were notoriously common, and one of the most infamous was the Vault 7 storage fire at the MGM backlot in Culver City, California. An unfortunate possibility of film stock made from flammable nitrates is that it faces the risk of burning, and without any safety precautions in place, with no actual plan B, such as duplicate copies or additional storage elsewhere, cinema has encountered great losses through fire and heat damage. This leads into a serious issue of early cinema. Film preservation was not taken seriously. Putting it bluntly, the majority of American silent films are lost. Referencing a study from the Library of Congress, which reinforces this, Mike Barnes of The Hollywood Reporter discussed this immeasurable loss of cultural significance, stating that the Library of Congress notes that a scant 14% of the feature films produced and distributed in the US from 1912 to 1929 exist in their original 35mm format. Meanwhile, 5%, or 562 films, of those that have survived in their original 35mm format are incomplete, and 11% of the films that are complete, 1,174, only exist as foreign versions or in lower quality formats. While it's still possible for films to be discovered, surviving copies existing within the unlikeliest places, owned by people unaware of their significance, it is always still an unexpected occurrence. For example, Carl Theodor Dreyer's The Passion of Joan of Arc was found intact in 1981 in a Norwegian psychiatric hospital. Martin Scorsese himself, within Mike Barnes' article for The Hollywood Reporter, expresses an optimism about finding lost films, stating that the artistry of silent film is essential to our culture. Anytime a silent picture by some miracle turns up, it reminds us of the treasures we've already lost. It also gives us hope that others may be discovered. The research presented in this report serves as a roadmap to finding silent films we once thought were gone forever, and encourages creative partnerships between archives and the film industry to save silent cinema. Discovering one lost film serves as a motivation to find more, and as Scorsese suggests, this encourages partnerships between archivists and filmmakers to preserve and rescue silent cinema. Consider how the Library of Congress each year preserves 25 films they deem artistically, aesthetically, or historically significant, or how many great film archives, such as the British Film Institute, continue to update their resources, even digitising the films in their possession. There is clearly a greater emphasis placed on preserving cinema for future generations now than there ever was before, essential to making art accessible for all. While London After Midnight, and unfortunately many other Lon Chaney films such as The Chimney's Secret, An Elephant on His Hands, The Big City, remain lost, with the technological and motivated progress undertaken in film restoration and preservation, maybe these films will once again see the light of day, available for all to watch. As Martin Scorsese suggests, we should have hope that these films will eventually be discovered. In conclusion, it is a tragedy to learn that many films, including London After Midnight, remain lost, although the Lon Chaney film's inaccessibility has not diminished its influence in the slightest. The loss of great silent cinema demonstrates the early industry's indifference to thoughtful film preservation, to the extent that Cecil B. DeMille criticised the industry for not doing enough. The motion picture industry will not come of age until it makes a determined effort to keep its own great classics alive, and to present them regularly to the public in a manner worthy of their merit, and worthy of the great names who made them. It's no surprise that due to his foresight, that many of DeMille's own works have survived thanks to his own independent efforts to preserve his films, serving as a cautionary lesson which the industry has learned from. Protect cinema for all, so that filmmaking artistry doesn't go to waste. A special thank you to my incredible tier Patreon supporter Gil, and my super tier Patreon supporters Constantine Bombelli, Jamie and Milkway.